Careers and Jobs in the USA, number 24. Passenger Vehicle Drivers. Learn about careers and jobs in the United States of America and improve your American English with Maestro Sersea. What passenger vehicle drivers do? Part 1. Passenger vehicle drivers transport people, sometimes across state and national borders. Some drive regular routes, while others' destinations vary daily. They operate a range of vehicles, from small cars with limited seating to 60-foot articulated buses with 2 connected sections that can carry more than 100 passengers. Passenger vehicle drivers must stay alert to ensure their passengers' safety, especially in heavy traffic or bad weather. What passenger vehicle drivers do? Part 2. Duties. Passenger vehicle drivers typically do the following: pick up and drop off passengers at designated locations, follow a planned route, or drive to a requested destination, help passengers, including those with disabilities, get into and out of the vehicle, obey traffic laws and state and federal transit regulations, follow procedures to ensure passenger safety, keep passengers informed of possible delays, maintain vehicle by checking tires, lights, and oil, keep the vehicle clean and presentable, help passengers load and unload belongings. Passenger vehicle drivers types. School bus drivers transport students to and from school and other activities such as field trips and sporting events when the academic term is in session. School bus drivers also maintain order on the school bus and report disciplinary problems to the school district or parents. Shuttle drivers and chauffeurs take passengers on planned trips. Shuttle drivers often drive large vans between airports or train stations and hotels or other destinations. Chauffeurs drive limousines, vans, or private cars and are hired to transport clients either for single trips or on a regular basis. Some chauffeurs do the duties of executive assistants, acting as driver, secretary, and itinerary planner. Taxi and ride-hailing drivers pick up and drop off passengers for a fare on an unplanned basis. Both are summoned taxi drivers, also called cab drivers or cabbies, via a central dispatcher or at a designated pickup location, and ride-hailing drivers through a smartphone app. Taxi drivers use a meter to calculate the fare. Ride-hailing drivers are paid by a credit card that is linked to the app that passengers use. Transit and intercity bus drivers usually follow a daily schedule to transport people on regular routes. They ensure that passengers pay the required fare, either by managing the fare box or collecting tickets, and answer questions about schedules and routes. Drivers of local transit buses travel city or suburban streets and may stop frequently. Drivers of intercity buses travel between cities or towns, sometimes crossing state lines. Motor coach drivers transport passengers on chartered trips or sightseeing tours and sometimes act as tour guides. Passenger vehicle drivers' work environment. Bus drivers, transit and intercity, held about 223,400 jobs in 2019. The largest employers of bus drivers, transit and intercity, were as follows: local government, excluding education and hospitals, 38%. Urban transit systems, 15%. Charter bus industry, 9%. Interurban and rural bus transportation, 5%. Passenger vehicle drivers, except bus drivers, transit and intercity, held about 853,300 jobs in 2019. The largest employers of passenger vehicle drivers, except bus drivers, transit and intercity, were as follows: elementary and secondary schools local, 23%. School and employee bus transportation, 17%. Other transit and ground passenger transportation, 8%. Local government, excluding education and hospitals, 7%. Driving through heavy traffic or bad weather and dealing with unruly passengers can be stressful. Some passenger vehicle drivers may have to pick up heavy luggage and packages, so they must take care to prevent strain or injury. Some taxi drivers own the cab they drive. Others lease it from a dispatch company. Regardless of whether they own or lease their vehicle, taxi drivers may contract with a dispatch company to use its passenger referral service or facilities for a fee. Ride-hailing drivers typically operate their own vehicles. Taxi drivers and ride-hailing drivers usually pay expenses such as fuel and maintenance on their vehicle. Injuries and illnesses. Transit and intercity bus drivers have one of the highest rates of injuries and illnesses of all occupations. Other passenger vehicle drivers sometimes get injured on the job. Most injuries result from traffic accidents. Passenger vehicle drivers' work schedules. Work schedules. Most passenger vehicle drivers work full-time, but part-time work is common. Drivers' schedules may vary, and some work weekends, evenings, or early mornings. School bus drivers work only when school is in session, so their work hours are often limited. Some make multiple runs if schools in their district open and close at different times, or if students need transportation to other activities. Chauffeurs' work hours are based on client needs. Some chauffeurs must be ready to drive their clients at a moment's notice, so they remain on call throughout the day. Taxi drivers and ride-hailing drivers' work schedules are often flexible. They can take breaks for a meal or rest whenever they do not have a passenger. Intercity bus drivers may work all hours of the day, including weekends and holidays. Some spend nights away from home because of long-distance routes. Others make a round trip and go home at the end of each shift. Bus drivers who cross state lines must follow the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's FMCSA hours of service regulations. Bus drivers are allowed 10 hours of driving time and 15 hours of total on-duty time before they must rest for 8 consecutive hours. Weekly maximum restrictions also apply, but may vary by employer schedule. Passenger vehicle drivers, how to become one, Part 1. Occupational entry requirements vary for different types of passenger vehicle drivers. In addition to education, training, and licensing requirements, some drivers must meet additional standards. Drivers usually need to have a clean driving record and may be required to pass a background check. They also might need to meet physical, hearing, and vision requirements. Education. Bus drivers typically need a high school diploma or equivalent. Other types of passenger vehicle drivers typically do not need any formal education. However, many of these drivers have a high school diploma or equivalent. Training. Bus drivers typically get 1 to 3 months of on-the-job training, but those who already have a commercial driver's license, CDL, may have a shorter training period. For part of the training, drivers may practice various maneuvers with a bus or on a driving course. They then begin to drive in light traffic and eventually make practice runs on the type of route that they expect to drive. New drivers make regularly scheduled trips with passengers while accompanied by an experienced driver who gives tips, answers questions, and evaluates the new driver's performance. Most taxi and limousine companies provide new drivers with a short period of on-the-job training. This training usually takes from 1 day to 2 weeks, depending on the company and the location. Some cities require the training, which typically covers local traffic laws, driver safety, and street layout. Taxi drivers also get training in operating the taximeter and communications equipment. Ride-hailing drivers receive little to no training beyond how to work the electronic hailing app so they can pick up customers. Advancement. Some taxi drivers start their own cab service by purchasing a taxi rather than leasing one through a dispatch company. Chauffeurs may advance with increased responsibilities or experiences, such as driving high-profile clients or different types of cars. Passenger vehicle drivers. How to become one. Part 2. Important qualities. Customer service skills. Drivers regularly interact with passengers and must be courteous and helpful. Dependability. Customers rely on passenger vehicle drivers to pick them up on time and safely transport them to their destination. Hand-eye coordination. Drivers must watch their surroundings and avoid obstacles and other hazards while operating a vehicle. Federal regulations require bus drivers to have normal use of their arms and legs. Hearing ability. Passenger vehicle drivers need good hearing. Federal regulations require bus drivers to have the ability to hear a forced whisper in 1 ear at 5 feet, with or without the use of a hearing aid. Patience. Drivers must remain calm and composed when driving through heavy traffic and congestion or when dealing with rude passengers. Physical health. Some health conditions, such as high blood pressure or epilepsy, may interfere with the safe operation of passenger vehicles. Visual ability. Passenger vehicle drivers must be able to pass vision tests. Federal regulations require bus drivers to have at least 20/40 vision with a 70-degree field of vision in each eye and the ability to distinguish colors on a traffic light. Passenger vehicle drivers, licenses, certifications, and registrations. All bus drivers must have a CDL. Some new bus drivers can earn their CDL during on-the-job training. Qualifications vary by state but generally include passing both knowledge and driving tests. States have the right not to issue a license to someone who has had a CDL suspended in another state. Drivers can get endorsements for a CDL that reflect their ability to drive a special type of vehicle. All bus drivers must have a passenger P endorsement, and school bus drivers must also have a school bus S endorsement. Getting the P and S endorsements requires additional knowledge, which is assessed through passing a driving test administered by a certified examiner. Many states require all bus drivers to be at least 18 years old and those who drive across state lines to be at least 21 years old. Most bus drivers must undergo a background check before they are hired. Federal regulations require interstate bus drivers to pass a physical exam every 2 years and to submit to random drug or alcohol testing. Most states impose similar regulations. Bus drivers may have their CDL suspended if they are convicted of a felony involving the use of a motor vehicle or of driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Actions such as excessive speeding or reckless driving may also result in a suspension. Other types of passenger vehicle drivers must have a regular automobile driver's license. States and local municipalities set additional requirements. Many require taxi drivers and chauffeurs to get a taxi or limousine license. This normally requires passing a background check, testing free of drugs, and passing a written exam about regulations and local geography. Regulations for ride-hailing drivers vary by state and city. Check with your local area for more information. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, requires limousine drivers who transport 16 or more passengers to hold a CDL with a passenger P endorsement. Passenger vehicle drivers pay. The median annual wage for bus drivers, transit and intercity was $45,900 in May 2020. The median wage is the wage at which half the workers in an occupation earned more than that amount and half earned less. The lowest 10% earned less than $28,330, and the highest 10% earned more than $72,750. The median annual wage for passenger vehicle drivers, except bus drivers, transit, and intercity, was $32,320 in May 2020. The lowest 10% earned less than $19,830. In May 2020, the median annual wages, and the highest 10% earned more than $50,970. In May 2020, the median annual wages for bus drivers, transit, and intercity in the top industries in which they worked were as follows: local government, excluding education and hospitals, $54,670. Urban train systems, $42,360. Interurban and rural bus transportation, $41,760. Charter bus industry, $36,680. In May 2020, the median annual wages for passenger vehicle drivers, except bus drivers, transit, and intercity in the top industries in which they worked were as follows: school and employee bus transportation, $38,020. Local government, excluding education and hospitals, $36,060. Elementary and secondary schools local, $33,900. Other transit and ground passenger transportation, $30,000. Most passenger vehicle drivers work full-time, but part-time work is common. Drivers' schedules may vary, and some work weekends, evenings, or early mornings. School bus drivers work only when school is in session, so their work hours are often limited. Some make multiple runs if schools in their district open and close at different times, or if students need transportation to other activities. Chauffeurs' work hours are based on client needs. Some chauffeurs must be ready to drive their clients at a moment's notice, so they remain on call throughout the day. Taxi drivers and ride-hailing drivers' work schedules are often flexible. They can take breaks for a meal or rest whenever they do not have a passenger. Intercity bus drivers may work all hours of the day, including weekends and holidays. Some spend nights away from home because of long-distance routes. Others make a round trip and go home at the end of each shift. Some passenger vehicle drivers receive tips. Those who provide good customer service are more likely to receive good tips than those whose customer service skills are poor. Passenger vehicle drivers, job outlook. Overall employment of passenger vehicle drivers is projected to grow 11% from 2019 to 2029, much faster than the average for all occupations. Employment of passenger vehicle drivers, except bus drivers, transit, and intercity, is projected to grow 11% from 2019 to 2029, much faster than the average for all occupations. Taxi, limousine, and ride-hailing services are concentrated primarily in large metropolitan areas where people are more likely to use this form of transportation. However, most job growth in this occupation is projected to be from the increasing demand for ride-hailing services, the providers of which are typically independent contractors. Demand is expected to increase due to the conveniences that ride-hailing services offer, such as being able to track the location of the requested driver and to pay for services using a smartphone app. In contrast, demand for taxi and limousine services is projected to decline as consumers opt to use ride-hailing services instead. Additionally, as more school districts outsource their transportation needs, employment growth for school bus drivers will likely be in companies that districts contract with to provide school bus services. Demand for special needs transportation will continue to rise because of an increase in older age groups, which typically are more likely to require these services than are younger groups. Employment of bus drivers, transit, and intercity is projected to grow 9% from 2019 to 2029, much faster than the average for all occupations. New bus rapid transit systems, BRT, are expected to open throughout the country, which should create additional employment opportunities. Intercity bus travel that picks up passengers from curbside locations in urban downtowns should continue to grow. This form of travel is expected to remain popular due to the inexpensive fares and passenger amenities such as Wi-Fi. Job prospects. About 132,900 openings for passenger vehicle drivers are projected each year on average over the decade. Many of those openings are expected to result from the need to replace workers who transfer to different occupations or exit the labor force, such as to retire. Passenger vehicle drivers. Summary. 2020 median pay, $34,670 per year. $16.67 per hour. Typical entry-level education, see how to become one. Work experience in a related occupation, none. On-the-job training, see how to become one. Number of jobs 2019, 1,076,700. Job outlook 2019-2029, 11%, much faster than average. Employment change 2019-2029, 115,300. Citation: Bureau of Labor Statistics, U.S. Department of Labor, Occupational Outlook Handbook, Passenger Vehicle Drivers.